6 months prior to the 14th of April 2021, my son was diagnosed with a heart condition, dilated cardiomyopathy of the left ventricle, I believe more commonly known as an enlarged heart. To this day, we don't know, we don't understand how and why this could have happened to someone who was 22, so vibrant, so full of life, so full of health, such a massive personality. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think it was early November 2020, the family was sat around the breakfast bar in the kitchen on a Sunday afternoon, talking, laughing, chatting, as a lot of families do on a Sunday afternoon. And when it was time for everyone to get up and leave, we noticed my son's lower legs and feet were substantially swollen. Obviously, we thought this isn't good. He had been complaining about an off stomach. I had taken him to the doctors 3 times, I think, altogether, and we were sent away with acid reflux medication. And he was talking about slight, his heart rate sort of being a little bit high. And the reason for that we were given was that he was anxious. It was anxiety symptoms, and we were sent home with nothing for that. So at this point on the Sunday afternoon, we took him to the hospital, and because of the COVID restrictions at that time, I couldn't be in hospital, couldn't stay with him. I was sent home, and he was actually admitted. He was in hospital for a whole of a month, sent from one hospital to another, I think 3 or 4 hospitals altogether in and around London. And he got his diagnosis. We weren't allowed to visit him, because of COVID, we weren't allowed to visit him. There was extensive video conversations. It was such a difficult time. It was because, as a parent, you want to protect your children, and it was so difficult to not just run there and not be there and beat down the door and say, I need to be with my son. It just wasn't possible. Extensive video calls to, be with him, to support him, to soothe him. But I think sometimes he was doing the comforting. He was comforting us as a family. It was, as I say, heart-wrenching. It really was. But after a month, beginning of December 2020, he was discharged, and I felt, well, they wouldn't have discharged him unless he was actually feeling a lot better. So he was at home on medication. He was recovering. He was doing so well. He showed no symptoms at all. He was going up and down the stairs because he was so fit and healthy. Otherwise, he took in his stride. He was doing really well. I looked after all his needs, his diet. And we started then going for a walk every morning. We'd go for an hour's walk, he and I, to our local park. So this was December, January, February, March, and we came to April. And on the 14th of April, that afternoon, he was going to have a follow-up appointment at a cardiology hospital in London, in Cambridge, in fact. And my husband and I were going to take him along there. They were actually going to talk to him about fitting a sort of an internal defibrillator. And my son and I had talked about, where this might be leading, and I know that he didn't want surgery. he didn't want that label of, oh, that's the guy with the heart condition. He made that quite clear to me. Anyway, that morning, he waved goodbye to my husband and said, I'll see you in a little while. We're just going to the park for our walk. So we walked along to our local park, chatting, just as we did every morning. About 20 minutes into our walk, he suddenly stopped and he said, Mum, I'm having a dizzy spell. I told him to sit down. I said, sit down really, really quickly. But his weight just gave way in my arms, and he's 6'2", almost double my weight, and we just both fell to the ground. I tried to cushion his blow as best as I could, but we did fall to the ground. And I remember shouting, screaming, help, someone, please help me. There was no one around at that time. I just went straight into, without even thinking, CPR. To the best of my ability, I did what I could, and soon after that, this gentleman, this man, just came running towards me, sort of fell to his knees and said, "What can I do to help?" And so we performed CPR together. A lady stopped by and said, "Can I do anything to help you?" I said, "Can you please call for an ambulance?" And she did, and the paramedics got there. They carried on, but I knew that he had gone, although I wanted them to carry on just in case there was any glimpse of hope. I think that my instinct, what I'm thinking might be wrong. But I remember almost, I remember looking up and thinking, are you there? Are you there? Are you somewhere? Are you looking at me, looking at you? And if you are, then it's okay. Then it's okay. If you can see me, hear me, feel what I'm saying, then it's okay. Please don't worry. Please don't worry about me. Don't worry about the rest of the family. You do what you need to do. And I didn't want him to be in any turmoil. I didn't want him to worry about us or feel any guilt. And so I gave him my blessing. I gave him my blessing. And my family got there, my daughters got there to the hospital, to the park. We all said our goodbyes, and the paramedics took him away, and my family took me home. So difficult, it was such an excruciating pain. I can't even put it into words what I was feeling. I didn't even know what I was feeling. I didn't even know who I was. I felt that the Ghazala who was at the park was somehow left there, and this is somebody else. I had this out-of-body experience. I was almost like looking at myself because I didn't recognize myself, and I was no longer me. So, and the world looked different. Everything looked different. I had a funeral that I had to get to. So 3 days later, on the 17th of April, I had to go through the motions. We all had to, as a family, go through the motions of being present at that funeral. And it was like looking through a mist, or looking at a slightly unfocused lens. people were hugging me and people around me and I didn't know who they were. The sounds were like droning noises, as if someone had put things on slow motion. There was no sharpness to anything. Everything was blurry and everything was, just my senses weren't working, weren't functioning. As the days went on and I had to go through the motions of life, because at the end of the day, it was all, life was still carrying on, and I couldn't get that. I just couldn't get my head around it. I couldn't. I saw children playing and happy, and what's going on? I'd see people sitting in a coffee shop drinking coffee and chatting, and I just couldn't understand anything. It didn't make any sense to me. I remember seeing the postman coming to the house and posting, delivering our post, and felt like saying, grabbing hold of him and saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't you know what's happened? Don't you know what's happened? Don't you get it? How can you just carry on? Stop. I felt like saying, stop. Stop, world, stop, stop. I want to get off. Stop. I don't want to be here without him. I don't want to live without him. I'm scared. I'm so scared. I fell into this deep, dark black hole. It was so lonely, so dark. So frightening. I was thinking, what do I do with this? Where do I go with this? What does this even mean? Is this going to kill me? I must have been there for 6 months, at least. The future just didn't exist, because everything that I had before in my life, before my son passed, was that my life was pretty picture perfect. 2 daughters and a lovely son. It's my youngest out of 3, and I saw the future. All those things that I was looking forward to, him graduating. He was at art college, at university, studying art, and he was still sort of finding himself. Because I think he was the youngest of the 3 children. He was, just coming out of this almost like childhood and finding himself, and still hadn't actually quite got there. Wasn't even 100% sure what he wanted to do once he sort of graduated from university. I know that one day, he wanted to be married, and he wanted to have a daughter. I knew that. He had shared that with me. All those things that I thought I was going to experience with him and be a part of. And I'd say to him, the day when you graduate, I'm going to be the one who's jumping up and down and almost, hitting the ceiling, screaming at the top of my lungs, because I'm going to be so, so proud of you. Because I know that sometimes he would struggle. He would struggle with imposter syndrome. He would struggle with anxiety. He was an anxious little soul, and I found myself reassuring him so much. He was such a beautiful, beautiful young man, but yet he didn't see it. Just like a lot of young people don't see it. They don't see how beautiful they are on the outside and on the inside. he was one of them. And so I came to a fork, I think. I came to a fork in the road. And on one side it was, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. I can't make sense of it, and I won't make sense of it, and I can't find what it is that I need to do with this. And I, lay down. I can just lay down my tools and say, that's it, I'm done. I'll just stay here until the day I pass, until the day I die, and that's going to be my fate, and that's my future as a result of what's happened. But there was another side of that fork, and that was something I think I'll share in my next video, because I feel that this has been so draining. This is my very first video. This is the very first time that I've shared my story like this. And the reason why I've decided to do this is because, for one thing, I think it's therapeutic for me, and it's almost like journaling what I've experienced. And I don't think I've ever sat down and actually told anyone what I've sort of told you now. And also to say to others, there might be someone sat there, out there, there might be someone there who's struggling with all these feelings and experiences I've just expressed, and it might be that it makes you feel as if you're not alone. And I think that's what's important here, is to hold out our hands and say, you're not alone. And so I did choose the other side of that fork, but I will share what that meant and what that means to me and how I did that in my next video. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I, would ask you to comment, like, subscribe. It's all very new to me, and hit that notification button as to when my next video might come along. So thank you for listening. It just means so much to me. Thank you.